At the palace banquet, one could hear a pin drop. The emperor's divine presence was overwhelming. His bright yellow dragon robe glowed coldly in the candlelight. He lowered his gaze upon me, his voice not loud but carrying a piercing authority. Cui Qing, do you truly intend to divorce Minister Gu? Yes. I lifted my head, my tone without the slightest hesitation. Beside me, Gu Linyuan clenched his fists so tightly his knuckles turned white. His brow furrowed into a deep crease as he hissed at me in a low voice, Cui Qing. Do not be insolent before His Majesty. His breath carried the scent of wine, mingled with his usual sandalwood fragrance, a scent I had once craved day and night in my youth, but now found only pungent and offensive. I did not turn to look at him, my gaze fixed on the emperor seated upon the throne. I continued, all know the deep affection between my husband and Miss Su Wanyu, who have been inseparable day and night. Unwilling to tear them apart, I have petitioned for divorce, to grant them their rightful status and restore my own peace. These words shattered the oppressive silence in the hall. Whispered murmurs surged like a tide, only to be swiftly drowned by the emperor's cough. Gu Linyuan's face turned instantly ashen. His hand, resting on his knee, slammed down on the table. Droplets of wine splashed from the porcelain cup, landing on his moon-white brocade robe and spreading into wet stains. What nonsense are you spouting? His voice crackled with fury. Su Wanyu and I are merely close friends. Do not believe the rumors. You dare to slander my integrity with such baseless accusations. I finally turned my face to look at him. After 3 years of marriage, his features remained as handsome as ever, sharp brows, starry eyes, a high, straight nose. Yet those eyes that once held me captive now held only disapproval for me and fierce protection for Su Wanyu. I tugged at the corner of my mouth, forcing a faint smile. Close friends? Lord Gu, on the 15th of last month, you didn't return home. You spent the night at Miss Su's Wanyue pavilion, correct? Gu Linyuan's pupils suddenly contracted, a flicker of panic crossing his eyes. I gave him no chance to defend himself, continuing, on my birthday a few days ago, you were supposed to host a banquet with me at the general's mansion, yet you left midway, all to deliver the jade hairpin Miss Su casually mentioned she desired. Minister Gu, are these mere rumors, or your so-called close friendship? With each word, Gu Linyuan's face paled further. By the end, his lips trembled, yet he could not utter a single word of rebuttal. Suddenly, a low sob broke from the crowd. Su Wanyu rose from the ladies' section, her plain white gown draping her like a delicate willow in the breeze. Tears streamed down her exquisite cheeks, making her look pitifully vulnerable. Your Majesty, the Empress, I am wronged. She curtsied gracefully toward the imperial throne, her voice choked with emotion. This humble maiden and Minister Gu have indeed known each other for many years, but there has never been anything improper between us. Sister Cui must have misunderstood. I am willing to apologize to Sister Cui. I only beg her not to act impulsively and destroy the marriage between myself and Minister Gu. As she spoke, she moved toward me, reaching to tug at my sleeve. Her demeanor was so utterly aggrieved, as if she'd suffered the greatest injustice. I took a step back, avoiding her touch. Her fingers grasped at thin air. Her body staggered, nearly toppling over, but was steadied by a maid standing beside her. To an uninformed observer, this scene would surely make it seem as though I was the aggressor, bullying her. I watched her performance coldly, my heart utterly unmoved. For 3 years, Su Wanyu had relied on this feigned innocence and vulnerability to repeatedly sow discord between Gu Linyuan and me. And Gu Linyuan always chose to believe her. Miss Su, there is no need for this. My tone was flat. My marriage to Minister Gu is already a mere formality, long dead in all but name. It has nothing to do with you. My request for an imperial decree today was not made on impulse, but after careful consideration. The emperor on the throne remained silent for a long while, his gaze shifting between me, Gu Linyuan, and Su Wanyu. His eyes were deep and unfathomable, revealing nothing of his thoughts. The empress beside him gently patted his hand and whispered something. The emperor gave a slight nod. Cui Shi, do you understand what divorce entails? The emperor spoke again, his voice still calm. You are the legitimate daughter of General Cui. Minister Gu is a pillar of this court. Your marriage concerns the honor of both families and the stability of the court itself. Should you insist on dissolution, you may find it difficult to maintain your standing in the capital henceforth. A warmth touched my heart. Though the emperor's words carried a warning, they also held a hint of consideration. But I no longer cared about such things. Your Majesty, this servant understands. I knelt and bowed. But rather than endure a marriage in name only, suffering day and night, I would rather take a chance and seek peace of mind. This servant's mind is made up. Even if I face loneliness and hardship in the future, I shall never regret it. Seeing my resolute stance, Gu Linyuan grew anxious and moved to pull me back, but the emperor raised his hand to stop him. Minister Gu, what is your perspective on this matter? Gu Linyuan drew a deep breath, his expression grim. Your Majesty, Qing Shuang and I have been husband and wife for 3 years, our bond deep and enduring. It is merely a recent misunderstanding. Your Majesty, I humbly request time to resolve these misunderstandings and rebuild our life together. His eyes never met mine as he spoke, clearly still unwilling to believe I truly wished to leave him. The emperor pondered briefly before replying slowly, this is no trivial matter. I must consider it carefully. As for today's palace banquet, we shall set this matter aside for now. Everyone, take your seats. Though he hadn't granted my request, he hadn't rejected it either, this outcome was entirely expected. I thanked him and turned back to my seat. Gu Linyuan sat beside me, his aura thick with an oppressive tension. Yet, I felt an unprecedented sense of ease. The music and dance continued within the hall, the strings and flutes playing melodiously, but I had no heart left to appreciate it. I knew that taking this step today would make the path ahead arduous. Gu Linyuan would not let go easily, Su Wanyue would not give up without a fight, and even the Cui family would present countless obstacles. But so what? I, Cui Qingshuang, refused to be that woman trapped in the cage of marriage, watching my husband share tender moments with another woman while I weep alone until dawn. This path to divorce, even if it meant traversing mountains of blades and seas of fire, I was determined to walk. As the palace banquet dispersed, night had deepened. The palace lamps lining the stone pathways cast long shadows. No sooner had I stepped out of the grand hall than a brutal force seized my wrist, its grip so fierce it nearly crushed my bones. Gu Linyuan's face was as dark as ink, veins throbbing violently on his temples. He dragged me to a secluded corner by the palace wall and gritted out, Cui Qingshuang, have you lost your mind? I struggled fiercely but couldn't break free. Resigning myself, I ceased struggling and met his gaze coldly. I haven't lost my mind. I merely spoke the truth and did what needed to be done. What must be done? He laughed bitterly, as if hearing the most absurd joke. You spout nonsense before His Majesty, bringing shame upon both the Gu and Cui families. Is that what you call what must be done? Shame? I raised an eyebrow, feeling only bitter irony. Gu Linyuan, when you secretly consorted with Su Wanyue for 3 years, casting aside your lawful wife like a worn-out shoe, did you think of shame then? On my birthday, when you held the sick Su Wanyue all night in Wanyue Pavilion, leaving me alone in my empty chamber, didn't you think about honor then? Every word was enunciated with deliberate clarity, each one like a dagger piercing through his veneer of respectability. Gu Linyuan's face shifted between pale and flushed. The grip on my wrist loosened slightly as his eyes darted nervously. Those were all misunderstandings. I've already explained, Su Wanyue and I were merely just close friends, right? I cut him off, my voice dripping with scorn. Then perhaps Mr. Gu should explain why that pearl hairpin hidden in your study's secret compartment ended up in Su Wanyue's hair? That hairpin was crafted from a South Sea pearl my father specially sought for my coming-of-age ceremony, a one-of-a-kind piece. Yet you turned around and gifted it to your close friend? At these words, Gu Linyuan's face drained of color. His lips trembled, yet no defense came forth. He must have forgotten that the inner side of that hairpin bore an exquisitely engraved character, Frost. I carved it myself on the day of my coming-of-age ceremony. Just days ago at the flower viewing banquet, Su Wanyue flaunted it everywhere. I saw right through her, but out of 3 years of marital affection, I chose not to expose her then. Qing Shuang. His tone softened, tinged with a hint of pleading. I know these past 3 years have been unfair to you, but we are husband and wife. Is there any couple without their quarrels? Wan Yu's background is pitiful, I only sympathized with her, nothing more. Give me one more chance. I promise to treat you well from now on and never associate with her again. Please? Looking into his pleading eyes, I felt not a ripple of emotion, only a deep chill. 3 years ago, he made the same promise to me. Back then, Su Wanyue had just arrived in the capital, helpless and alone. He claimed it was mere sympathy and vowed to keep his distance. But what was the result? His concern for her long surpassed the bounds of ordinary friendship, even overshadowing me, his lawful wife. A chance? I gave a faint smile, yet my eyes held no trace of warmth. Gu Linyuan, over these 3 years, I have given you countless chances. When you stayed out all night, I didn't question you. When you neglected me for her sake, I didn't complain. Even when she repeatedly came to provoke me, I endured it. But what about you? You grew more brazen, treating my endurance as your due. This time, I won't give you another chance, nor will I give myself one. Just then, footsteps echoed in the distance, accompanied by a eunuch's shrill voice. Minister Gu, Lady Cui, His Majesty commands you both to attend the imperial study immediately. Gu Linyuan's eyes lit up as if he'd grasped a lifeline. He quickly released my wrist, smoothed his robes, and said in a deep voice, "Let's go. The Emperor must have reconsidered and wants to persuade you to revoke your decree." I rubbed my wrist, reddened from his grip, but said nothing. I followed the eunuch toward the imperial study. The imperial study was brightly lit by candles. The Emperor sat at his desk reviewing memorials. Noting our entrance, he merely lifted his eyes and gestured toward the chairs beside him. "Sit." We thanked him and took our seats. The chamber fell silent, broken only by the rustling of papers as the Emperor flipped through the memorials. The atmosphere was oppressive, suffocating. After a long while, the Emperor set down his vermilion brush and fixed his gaze upon me. "Cui, were the words you spoke at the palace banquet earlier all true? Every word accurate?" "Every word is true," I answered without hesitation. The Emperor then turned to Gu Linyuan. "Minister Gu, do you have anything to say?" Gu Linyuan promptly rose, bowing deeply. "Your Majesty, my wife Qingxuang and I have been married for many years, our bond deep and enduring. Only recently have misunderstandings arisen. I humbly request your Majesty's gracious permission to be granted time. I shall resolve these misunderstandings and restore harmony with Qingxuang." The Emperor fell silent for a moment before speaking slowly. "Minister Gu, you are my capable right-hand man, and General Cui is a pillar of the state. The union of your two families was meant to be a model alliance. Yet matters of marriage cannot be forced." He paused before continuing. "I grant you 3 months. Within this time, should you resolve your misunderstandings and reconcile, this matter shall be closed. Should Lady Cui still insist on divorce after 3 months, I shall grant your petition." 3 months? I sneered inwardly. Not even 3 years could make me turn back. Gu Linyuan, however, seemed to breathe a sigh of relief and hastily thanked the Emperor. "Thank you for your Majesty's grace." As we left the imperial study, the night had grown even darker. Gu Linyuan followed behind me, his tone tinged with a barely perceptible smugness. "Qingxuang, see? Even the Emperor doesn't want us to divorce. These 3 months, I will make it up to you, so you know I have eyes only for you." I did not turn back, only replied indifferently, "Gu Linyuan, it is unnecessary. These 3 months, you would do better to consider how you will account for your actions to Su Wanyue." With that, I quickened my pace and climbed into the carriage sent by the Cui family to fetch me. The curtain fell, shielding me from Gu Linyuan's ugly expression and the painful memories of the past 3 years. Leaning against the carriage wall, I closed my eyes, my mind crystal clear. The Emperor's decision, though not the outcome I desired, granted me a crucial window of time. These 3 months, Gu Linyuan would certainly not sit still. Su Wanyue would also find ways to obstruct me, and the pressure from the Cui family would likely be no less intense. But I was not afraid. From the moment I uttered the words divorce at the palace banquet, I had no path to retreat. These 3 months, I would plan meticulously, gathering more evidence. When the period ended, I would leave Gu Linyuan and Su Wanyue utterly powerless to argue. This divorce, I would secure it at all costs. As the carriage rolled through the gates of the Cui residence, the sky was just beginning to lighten. Servants had been waiting at the entrance. Seeing me step down, they hurried forward to assist me, their expressions tinged with cautious concern. I knew the events at the palace banquet must have reached the Chui residence. Father and my elder brother were undoubtedly furious. Sure enough, the moment I stepped into the main hall, I felt the oppressive atmosphere. Father, General Chui, sat in the seat of honor, his face ashen. He slammed his teacup down on the table, sending tea splashing and soaking the surface. My elder brother, Chui Qingheng, stood nearby, his brow furrowed, his gaze toward me filled with concern. Kneel. Father's voice was low and stern, carrying an authority that brooked no argument. I obeyed, bending my knees to kneel, yet my back remained straight as a rod. Father, your daughter knows she was wrong, but she does not regret it. You dare say you have no regrets? Father slammed his hand on the table, roaring, "Do you know what you did at the palace banquet? In front of the emperor and the entire court, you demanded a divorce from Gu Linyuan. Do you want to make the Chui family a laughingstock in the capital?" Father, I lifted my head, meeting his gaze. My marriage to Gu Linyuan has long been a mere formality. Rather than clinging to this hollow union and letting outsiders mock the Chui family's daughter, it's better to part ways cleanly and preserve our mutual dignity. Dignity? Father sneered coldly. How can a divorced woman stand her ground in the capital? Where would the Chui family's honor be placed? Gu Linyuan is a high-ranking minister of the court. Divorcing him will not only tarnish your own reputation but also jeopardize the relationship between the Chui and Gu families, and even impact the political landscape. Do you understand? Of course I understand. The Chui family has produced military commanders for generations, while the Gu family leads the civil officials. Our marriage was meant to balance the power in the court. But they don't understand the humiliation and torment I've endured in the Gu household these past 3 years. My elder brother, Chui Qingheng, sighed and stepped forward, his tone softening slightly. Sister, father only wants what's best for you. Marriage is no trivial matter, how can one act on impulse? Though Gu Linyuan has made mistakes, he isn't entirely without affection for you. Otherwise, he wouldn't have pleaded for another chance before the emperor. Think carefully. Don't let a moment of rashness ruin your entire life. Impulsive? I closed my eyes, and the suppressed memories surged up like a tidal wave. 3 years ago, adorned in a 10-mile-long red bridal procession, I married into the Gu household, becoming the envied Lady Gu. Yet on our wedding night, Gu Linyuan did not enter my bridal chamber. Instead, he stayed in his study all night. I waited for him all night long. Only as dawn approached did he return, reeking of alcohol, his lips murmuring Su Wanyue's name. From that day onward, his demeanor toward me grew cold and distant. The servants in the mansion, ever opportunistic, gradually began to neglect me, the legitimate wife. Meanwhile, Su Wanyue, emboldened by Gu Linyuan's indulgence, grew increasingly frequent in her visits. I recall one time when I caught a chill and was bedridden. Upon hearing this, Gu Linyuan not only failed to visit me but instead, because Su Wanyue expressed a craving for osmanthus cakes from the western part of the city, personally scurried halfway across the capital to buy them. Holding that box of osmanthus cakes, Su Wanyue approached my sickbed, her smile gentle. Sister Chui, Brother Linyuan is so kind to me. Knowing I wanted them, he went out of his way to get them, no matter how far. Unlike you, sister. You're sick, and he wouldn't even come see you. Her tone dripped with boastfulness, yet her eyes burned with provocation. I trembled with fury then, but forced myself to endure it. I knew that even if I told Gu Linyuan, he'd only blame me for overreacting, for failing to understand Su Wanyue's delicate nature. Then there was Last Lantern Festival. Gu Linyuan was supposed to take me to see the lanterns, but suddenly claimed Su Wanyue was feeling low and needed his company. I sat alone in the mansion, watching the city lights outside my window, feeling utterly superfluous. Later I learned he'd taken Su Wanyue to the city ramparts, watched fireworks all night, and personally released a sky lantern for her, inscribed with "May Wanyue find peace and joy." These incidents, one by one, pierced my heart like needles, leaving me utterly disillusioned with this marriage and with Gu Linyuan himself. I opened my eyes, my gaze clear and unwavering. My tone was firm. Father, brother, this is not a rash decision. For 3 years, I endured Gu Linyuan's coldness and Su Wanyue's taunts. But I am also a daughter of the Chui family, with my own pride and principles. I cannot continue to sacrifice myself like this. My resolve to seek a divorce is absolute. Whatever the cost, I will see it through. Father looked at me, his gaze complex, filled with anger, disappointment, and a barely perceptible flicker of pain. After a long silence, he spoke slowly. Do you realize that if you divorce, the Chui family might suffer repercussions? I am aware. I knelt and bowed my head. But I believe, Father, that the Chui family's honor has never depended on a single marriage alliance. Your daughter seeks only peace of mind. I implore you to grant this wish. My brother tried to speak, but Father raised a hand to silence him. Father gazed at me and sighed deeply. Very well. You've always been stubborn since childhood. Once you set your mind on something, not even 10 oxen could pull you back. Since you've made your decision, I won't stand in your way. But remember this, no matter what happens, the Chui family will always stand behind you. Warmth flooded my heart, and my eyes instantly stung. Thank you, Father. But then his tone turned stern. Gu Linyuan and Su Wanyue won't let you have your way easily. The road ahead will be difficult. Prepare yourself mentally. I nodded. I was already ready for anything. Stepping out of the main hall and returning to my own chamber, I looked at the familiar furnishings, my heart filled with mixed emotions. This was where I grew up, my warmest haven. Seated by the window, I watched the rising sun and felt strength surge within me. Gu Linyuan, Su Wanyue, what you owe me, I will reclaim bit by bit. This path to divorce, no matter how arduous, I will walk unwaveringly. After returning from the Chui residence, the atmosphere at the Gu mansion grew distinctly tense. The servants no longer treated me with their usual indifference and perfunctory courtesy. Their eyes held a newfound respect, and their bows were much more formal. It must be that word of the palace banquet had spread. They feared I might actually succeed in the divorce, leaving them in a difficult position afterward. I returned to my courtyard, Clear Radiance Courtyard. It had remained cold and quiet for 3 years, but now, because of my decision, it held an indescribable tension. No sooner had I sat down than a maid arrived to announce that Miss Su Wanyue had come to visit. My hand holding the teacup paused, and a cold smile touched my lips. A visit? She was likely eager to witness my downfall and sow a few more seeds of discord. Let her in. Moments later, Su Wanyue glided in, still clad in plain robes, her hair adorned with that pearl hairpin engraved with the character Frost. It made her skin appear as white as snow, lending her an air of pitiful vulnerability. Yet, the undisguised smugness and scheming in her eyes ultimately betrayed her. Sister Chui, she said, approaching briskly the moment she entered, her tone intimate yet tinged with a subtle, appraising gaze. I heard you were startled at yesterday's palace banquet. I came especially today to see how you're feeling. Are you feeling better? Behind her, a maid carried a food box and placed it on the table. Su Wanyue personally opened it to reveal a bowl of bird's nest soup, its aroma filling the air. This is bird's nest soup I personally stewed for you, sister. Please try some to nourish your body. I remained still, quietly watching her performance. Miss Su, you've been so thoughtful. But we've never been close. Such effort leaves me feeling rather overwhelmed. Su Wanyue's smile faltered momentarily before resuming her feigned vulnerability, her eyes glistening slightly. Are you blaming me, sister? I know Brother Lin Yuan hasn't treated you well these years. It's all my fault. If not for me, sister and Brother Lin Yuan wouldn't have ended up like this. As she spoke, she reached out to take my hand, lowering herself as if truly here to atone. I leaned back against the chair, avoiding her touch, my tone flat. Miss Su, there's no need for this. My affairs with Gu Lin Yuan concern you not. If that's all you came to say today, then please leave. I have matters to attend to. Su Wanyue's face paled. She bit her lower lip, looking deeply aggrieved. Sister, I know you're angry, but you can't be so heartless. I only wish to make amends, to help you and Brother Lin Yuan reconcile. Reconcile? I chuckled softly. Miss Su, do you truly believe that possible? Just then, Su Wanyue seemed to lose her balance, her body lurching forward as her hand brushed against the teacup on the table. Crash! The cup smashed on the floor, shattering into pieces. Scorching hot tea splashed onto her skirt. She gasped, her face instantly turning pale. Tears fell like beads from a broken string. Sister, I didn't mean to. Maids and servants in the courtyard heard the commotion and rushed in, their expressions shifting as they witnessed the scene. Su Wanyue's maid immediately stepped forward, supporting her while glaring at me. Lady Cui. Our young mistress kindly came to see you, why did you push her? Look, she's scalded her skirt. Su Wanyue hastily pulled her maid back, shaking her head and sobbing. Don't blame Sister Cui. It was my own carelessness. It has nothing to do with her. Her feigned helplessness was utterly nauseating. Any clear-eyed observer could see she had deliberately tripped herself, only to frame me. She wanted to brand me as a guest mistreating, jealous woman. The old me would have panicked now, scrambling to explain. But now, I just find it tedious. I rose slowly, stepping before her. My gaze settled on the tea-splattered hem of her skirt, that tiny wet spot hardly a burn at all. Miss Su, your acting skills are truly improving. Su Wanyue's sobs halted. She looked up at me, a flicker of panic in her eyes. Ignoring her reaction, I continued, you said earlier that you personally stewed this bird's nest? Su Wanyue paused, then nodded. Yes. Yes. Oh. I raised an eyebrow, glancing at the food box beside her. But I recall this bird's nest was a tribute from the western regions just days ago, something only available within the palace. The box in the Gu family's storeroom was taken by Gu Lin Yuan yesterday, supposedly to be delivered to you. How is it that Miss Su prepared it so quickly and had it specially delivered to me? Su Wanyue's expression darkened instantly, her lips trembling. I pointed to the hairpin at her temple. This pearl hairpin is quite exquisite. I wonder where Miss Su acquired it. Su Wanyue instinctively touched the hairpin, her eyes darting about. This was given to me by Brother Lin Yuan. Is that so? I chuckled softly, raising my voice so the servants present could hear. But this hairpin was crafted from a South Sea pearl my father sought out for me during my coming-of-age ceremony. Inside, it's engraved with my name, Frost. Gu Lin Yuan gave my coming-of-age gift to you, his confidant. Do you find that appropriate, Miss Su? The word sent a collective gasp through the servants present, their gazes toward Su Wanyue turning distinctly cold. Everyone knew how significant coming-of-age gifts were to a woman. For Gu Lin Yuan to give Lady Cui's hairpin to another woman was an immense insult to her. Su Wanyue's face drained of color instantly. Her hands clenched tightly at her skirt hem, her body trembling slightly. I didn't know. Brother Lin Yuan said he specially sought this out for me. You didn't know? Did my relentless questioning finally break you, or did you know full well and deliberately wear it to flaunt it in my face? Miss Su, you've repeatedly come here to provoke me, relying on Gu Lin Yuan's indulgence. Do you truly think I, Cui Qingshuang, am someone to be trifled with? Just then, footsteps sounded outside the door. Gu Lin Yuan's colleague, the wife of the Grand Censor, entered with her maid. They had clearly come to visit but had stumbled upon the scene. Surprise flashed across the censor's wife's face as she looked at Su Wanyue with an inquiring gaze. Su Wanyue, who always presented herself as delicate and innocent, had her facade shattered before everyone. Utterly humiliated, she looked as if she wanted to sink into the ground. Madame Cui, this. The imperial censor's wife began, her voice filled with confusion. I gave her a slight nod, my tone calm. I'm afraid I've made a spectacle of myself. Miss Su came to visit, but for some reason, she suddenly stumbled and fell, bringing up these old matters. Realizing further delay would only deepen her humiliation, Su Wanyue hastily wiped her tears, curtsied to me, and whispered in a voice as thin as a mosquito's buzz, Sister, I misunderstood. I'll leave immediately. With that, she practically fled in disarray, even forgetting the food box she'd brought. Watching her flustered retreat, I felt no trace of satisfaction, only profound calm. The imperial censor's wife stepped forward, giving me a thumbs up. Madame Cui, you were truly magnificent just now. That Miss Su, relying on Minister Gu's favor, has always been arrogant among the ladies of the capital. Only you could put her in her place. I smiled, saying nothing more. After the imperial censor's wife departed, the servants in the courtyard kept their heads bowed, not daring to speak. I looked at them and said in a deep voice, "From now on, if anyone dares to neglect their duties toward the master or listen to outsiders' slander, don't blame me for being harsh." "Yes, ma'am." The servants hurriedly bowed in response, their tone much more respectful. I knew this confrontation had not only publicly humiliated Su Wanhua but also established my authority within the Gu residence. But this was only the beginning. Su Wanhua would never let this rest, and Gu Linyuan would harbor even greater resentment toward me because of today's events. Yet I was no longer the easily manipulated Shui Qingshuang of the past. From now on, when retaliation was warranted, I would show no mercy. Within days of Su Wanhua's departure, rumors of her humiliation at Qinghui Courtyard spread throughout the capital. Some claimed she brought it upon herself, growing arrogant from Lord Gu's favor. Others accused me of being overbearing, disregarding Lord Gu's dignity. Whispers swirled everywhere, yet no one dared mention it to my face, likely due to the Gu household servants' discretion or fear of the Cui family's influence. I paid it no mind. Each day, I immersed myself in reading and calligraphy at Qinghui Courtyard, occasionally handling minor household affairs, casting both Gu Linyuan and Su Wanhua from my thoughts. Gu Linyuan had been quiet these past few days, not seeking me out. He was likely still fuming over that incident, or perhaps busy soothing the wounded Su Wanhua. One afternoon, as I was copying calligraphy, hurried footsteps echoed outside the courtyard. The steward personally arrived to report envoys from the palace had arrived, bearing an imperial edict from the Empress Dowager summoning me to attend court immediately. My heart skipped a beat. Why would the Empress Dowager summon me so suddenly? Was it about the divorce proposal at the palace banquet, or concerning Su Wanyu? There was no time to ponder. I quickly changed into proper court attire, freshened up briefly, and followed the eunuch bearing the edict toward the imperial palace. The Changle Palace, where the Empress Dowager resided, exuded an air of regal splendor yet retained a touch of warmth. The hall was filled with the subtle fragrance of sandalwood incense. Thick carpets lined the warm chamber, muffling every step beneath foot. The Empress Dowager sat regally upon the main throne, clad in bright yellow court robes. A step-shaking hairpin of crimson gold and emeralds adorned her temple. Her face bore a gentle smile, yet her gaze was deep and piercing, as if capable of seeing straight into one's soul. I stepped forward, curtsied, and knelt. "Your humble servant, Shui Qingshuang, pays her respects to Her Imperial Majesty the Empress Dowager." Long live the Empress Dowager. 10,000 years. 10,000 years. 10,000 years. Rise. Take a seat. Her voice was gentle, tinged with an almost imperceptible kindness. I thanked her and sat down on the chair beside her, maintaining a dignified posture while inwardly pondering the purpose of her summons. "You're quite a spirited child, this one." The Empress Dowager sipped her tea and spoke slowly, her gaze fixed on me with a hint of appraisal. "I have heard of the incident at the palace banquet. To dare propose a divorce before His Majesty and the entire court, among the women of the capital, you alone possess such audacity." My heart tightened, and I rose hastily. "Your Majesty," I acted impulsively. "I beg your forgiveness." "Impulsive?" The Empress Dowager smiled and waved me back to my seat. "I see it not as impulsiveness, but a decision made after deep consideration. That boy, Gu Linyuan. I watched him grow up. He has talent, but his nature is too soft. He's easily swayed and deceived." Hearing this, I was secretly astonished. I hadn't expected the Empress Dowager to speak so frankly. "Your Majesty sees clearly." I lowered my gaze. "My marriage to Minister Gu has indeed reached its end. This is not a rash decision." The Empress Dowager nodded, her tone tinged with regret. "I know. You are the legitimate daughter of General Cui, raised in luxury since childhood. Your nature is fierce and unyielding, you cannot tolerate injustice. Gu Linyuan's wrongs toward you, this Empress Dowager has witnessed them all." She paused, then continued, "These past 3 years, how you endured life in the Gu household, rumors have circulated throughout the capital. I had assumed you would endure in silence forever. Yet you found the courage to petition for divorce. I admire your courage." Hearing the Empress Dowager's words, warmth flooded my heart and my eyes stung slightly. For these 3 years, everyone urged me to endure, to consider the greater good. Only the Empress Dowager saw through my suffering and affirmed my decision. Thank you, Your Majesty, for your understanding. However, the Empress Dowager's tone shifted abruptly, her expression turning serious. You must understand that child Su Wanyue is not as simple as she appears on the surface. My heart sank, and I quickly looked up at the Empress Dowager. What do you mean, Your Majesty? She did not answer directly, but spoke slowly. She appears helpless and pitiful, but behind her lies a web of connections. All these years, if not for someone secretly protecting her, how could an orphaned girl establish herself in the capital and capture Gu Linyuan's heart so completely? I was utterly shocked. I had always believed Su Wanyue relied solely on Gu Linyuan's affection. I never imagined she had someone backing her up. No wonder she acts so brazenly, she has powerful support. This Empress Dowager knows you wish to dissolve the marriage and understands your feelings. The Empress Dowager gazed at me, her tone solemn. The Emperor has granted you 3 months. During this time, you must exercise utmost caution. Su Wanyue will likely stop at nothing to remain by Gu Linyuan's side. This humble daughter understands, and thanks the Empress Dowager for her reminder. I hastily replied. The Empress Dowager nodded, then took a jade hairpin from the brocade box beside her and handed it to me. This is a jade hairpin I wore in my youth. Keep it. In the future, if you encounter any difficulties in the capital, or if anyone dares to bully you, take this jade hairpin to Changle Palace and seek me out. I accepted the hairpin with both hands. Its jade was smooth and cool to the touch, its head intricately carved with intertwined lotus patterns, clearly a priceless treasure. This was more than a hairpin, it was the Empress Dowager's protection. This humble servant thanks Her Imperial Majesty for her kindness. I knelt once more, my heart overflowing with gratitude. Rise. The Empress Dowager helped me up, her tone returning to its usual gentleness. You are a good child. I do not wish to see you ruined by this unfortunate marriage. Live well, live for yourself. That matters more than anything else. As I left the Changle Palace, the sunlight was perfect, its warmth bathing my body. Clutching the jade hairpin in my hand, my heart felt profoundly at ease. The Empress Dowager's summons not only gave me immense encouragement but also revealed Su Wanyue's true colors. She has powerful backing. This is something I must watch closely. It seems these next 3 months will be anything but peaceful. Who exactly are the forces behind Su Wanyue? Why are they supporting her? These questions demand my careful investigation. Upon returning to the Gu residence, Gu Linyuan was waiting for me in the clear radiance courtyard. His eyes flickered when he saw the jade hairpin in my hand, his tone tinged with inquiry. You went to the palace today. What did the Empress Dowager summon you for? I tucked the hairpin away and replied indifferently. The Empress Dowager merely inquired about this humble servant's recent circumstances and chatted about family matters. Gu Linyuan clearly didn't believe me, his brow furrowing. Merely chatting about family matters? Why would Her Majesty suddenly take an interest in your well-being? Perhaps Her Majesty sympathizes with the difficulties I face at the Gu residence. My tone remained level, offering no further explanation. Gu Linyuan's expression darkened. He seemed to want to say something, but ultimately only gave a cold snort before turning and leaving. Watching his retreating figure, I let out a cold laugh inside. With the Empress Dowager's protection, I now possessed greater confidence in my future actions. Su Wanyue, and whoever stands behind you, no matter what tricks you attempt, I fear you no longer. This path to divorce, I shall not only walk to its end, but tread it with unwavering certainty. Let all who scheme against me pay the price they deserve. The jade hairpin bestowed by the Empress Dowager became a reassuring talisman for Qinghui Courtyard. The servants grew increasingly respectful toward me, even the few matrons who had always fawned over Su Wanyue now bowed and greeted me with deference. I continued my daily routine of reading and practicing calligraphy, occasionally listening to the maids share amusing tales from the capital. Yet I paid little attention to Gu Linyuan's movements. Until this evening, as I leaned by the window watching the sunset, a sudden rush of footsteps echoed outside the courtyard. Gu Linyuan himself had come to Qinghui Courtyard. His expression was grave, a lingering shock in his eyes. His usually neatly arranged hair was slightly disheveled, clearly having rushed here from somewhere. This was a stark contrast to his usual composed demeanor, instantly sparking my curiosity. Do you know what Su Wanyue has been up to lately? He cut straight to the chase the moment he entered, his tone carrying a barely perceptible urgency. I set down the scroll I was reading and replied coolly, I've never had any dealings with her. How could I know her whereabouts? If you're concerned, Minister Gu, why not go ask at Wanyue Pavilion yourself? Gu Linyuan's brow furrowed deeper, his tone tinged with irritation. If I could get answers there, I wouldn't have come here. He paced the room, his expression shifting restlessly, as if wrestling with something. I watched him silently, refraining from pressing further, though my suspicions were already forming. He must have witnessed something that cast doubt on Su Wanyue. Sure enough, moments later, he halted, his gaze toward me complex. This afternoon, I intended to visit Wan Yuxian to see her, but at the alley entrance, I encountered her conversing privately with an unfamiliar man. The man wore black robes and stood tall and straight. His bearing suggested he was no ordinary commoner of the capital. My heart stirred. Su Wanyue was indeed involved with outsiders. This must be the man behind the scenes the Empress Dowager spoke of. What did they say? I asked, keeping my expression neutral. Gu Linyuan's expression darkened, his tone tinged with disbelief. I was too far to hear clearly, but I faintly caught words like Chui family, divorce, and plan. What shocked me even more was the tone of her voice, utterly devoid of her usual feeble, pitiable manner. Instead, it carried a hint of ruthlessness and calculation, making her seem like a completely different person from the Wanyue I knew. His eyes brimmed with confusion and inner turmoil as he spoke. It seemed these past 3 years, he'd been blinded by Su Wanyue's fragile facade. Today, witnessing the truth firsthand, his worldview crumbled. I confronted her, but she wept, claiming it was a distant cousin who'd come to the capital seeking refuge with her, just discussing family matters. Gu Linyuan's tone carried a hint of uncertainty, yet something felt off to me. Her eyes darted away, her words vague and unclear, not the speech of someone telling the truth. Watching his tormented expression, I felt no sympathy, only a faint, cold smile. He finally believed Su Wanyue wasn't the innocent, harmless person she appeared to be. Minister Gu, I spoke slowly, my voice calm. Did you only now see what kind of person Miss Su truly is? For 3 years, she played the role of the weak and pitiful before you, while secretly sowing discord between us time and again. Did you never once harbor a shred of doubt? Gu Linyuan's face paled. His lips moved, but no words came out. You always speak of her pitiful background, claiming she needs your protection. But have you ever considered, how could a truly helpless orphan survive in the capital, let alone capture your heart so completely that you'd neglect me, your lawful wife? I continued, each word striking at the core. The Empress Dowager summoned me that day and hinted that Su Wanyue has powerful backing. Today, it seems Her Majesty the Empress Dowager spoke the truth. Gu Linyuan's pupils suddenly contracted as he stared at me in shock. The Empress Dowager knows too? I nodded. Her Majesty holds a high position and sees through the world's affairs. Naturally, she sees more clearly than we do. She also warned me that Su Wanyue would likely stop at nothing to remain by your side. Gu Linyuan fell silent, and the atmosphere in the room grew oppressive. He leaned against the desk, hands braced on the surface, his silhouette appearing somewhat desolate. I knew the trust he held for Su Wanyue had already begun to crack. Yet this crack was still insufficient to fully awaken him. Sure enough, after a long while, he lifted his head, his gaze toward me tinged with a hint of pleading. Qingshuang, even if Wanyue truly has concealed something, we have been husband and wife for 3 years. Our bond remains. The Emperor has granted us 3 months. Can you give me one more chance? I will uncover the truth, sever all ties with her, and dedicate myself to our life together. Those words again. A chill spread through my heart as I shook my head. Gu Linyuan, I've given you countless chances. You chose not to cherish them, and now you've brought this upon yourself. I know. I was foolish before. I wronged you. He stepped forward, reaching for my hand, but I pulled away. But I know my mistake now. Can't you forgive me just this once? Forgive? I smiled faintly, yet my eyes held no warmth. Gu Linyuan, some wounds, once inflicted, can never be mended. The humiliation I endured these past 3 years, the tears I shed, they cannot be erased by a simple "I was wrong." My decision to divorce is final and unchangeable. Gu Linyuan's face instantly drained of color, his eyes brimming with disappointment and reluctance. He stared at me, his lips trembling, before finally letting out a heavy sigh and turning away from Qinghui courtyard. Watching his lonely retreating figure, my heart remained utterly unmoved. His growing suspicion of Su Wanyue is a blessing. It means one less obstacle on my path to divorce. Yet he still refuses to agree to the separation, likely clinging to years of affection or unwilling to lose face. But that no longer matters. His doubts will become a thorn, driving a wedge between him and Su Wanyue, shattering their trust completely. All I need to do is wait quietly, gather sufficient evidence, and when the 3-month period ends, the divorce will proceed smoothly. But what desperate actions might Su Wanyue take once she learns of Gu Linyuan's suspicions? A faint premonition stirred within me. The days ahead would surely be anything but calm. Yet I was prepared. No matter what tricks she played, I would not back down again. After Gu Linyuan left, Qinghui courtyard returned to its usual tranquility. But I knew beneath this calm, dark currents were churning. Gu Linyuan's suspicion towards Su Wanyue was like a pebble tossed into a lake. It hadn't stirred up huge waves, but ripples were spreading. And Su Wanyue must have sensed Gu Linyuan's change too, surely plotting in secret. I refused to sit idly by, instead launching a covert investigation into Su Wanyue's connection to that dark-clad man and the true nature of the plan they spoke of. I discreetly tasked Qing Lao, the elderly servant who had accompanied me as part of my dowry, to probe the matter. With her extensive connections in the capital and meticulous approach, she soon brought me news. "Miss," Qing Laonyang whispered in my ear, "that man in black is not Su Wanyue's distant cousin. He is the illegitimate son of the Grand Tutor of the previous dynasty. His name is Jiangnan. The Grand Tutor of the previous dynasty was executed for treason, his entire family executed. Only he managed to escape. All these years, he's been living under an assumed name. For some reason, he's become entangled with Su Wanyue. The Grand Tutor of the previous dynasty? Treason?" My heart skipped a beat. I never imagined the forces behind Su Wanyue were so formidable. Her approach to Gu Linyuan was likely not merely for love, but for some other purpose. "There's one more thing," Qing Nanny continued. While inquiring near Su Wanyue's former residence, this servant learned from an elderly neighbor that Su Wanyue and Lord Gu had privately pledged their lives to each other 3 years ago. That neighbor personally witnessed Lord Gu presenting Su Wanyue with a dragon-patterned jade pendant he wore close to his heart, calling it a token of their love. A dragon-patterned jade pendant? My heart stirred. Gu Linyuan did indeed possess such a pendant, a token bestowed by the emperor upon his imperial examination success. He had worn it close to his skin ever since, never parting with it. If that very pendant truly lay in Su Wanyue's possession, it would be irrefutable proof of their private vows. "Is there a way to obtain that jade pendant?" I asked. Auntie Qing nodded. "This servant has already made inquiries. Su Wanyue treasures the pendant like a precious jewel, keeping it hidden at the bottom of her dressing box in Wanyue Pavilion. Tomorrow is the 15th. Su Wanyue will be leaving the manor to pray at Jingxin Temple outside the city. Her absence presents the perfect opportunity to act." I pondered for a moment before nodding. "Very well, I entrust this matter to you. Proceed with utmost caution, do not alert them. Rest assured, miss." The next day, Su Wanyue indeed left early with her maidservant. Nanny Qing seized the chance to sneak into Wanyue Pavilion and successfully retrieved the dragon-patterned jade pendant. The jade pendant was a vivid emerald green, intricately carved with lifelike dragon patterns. Engraved on its reverse were the characters Lin Yuan in Gu Linyuan's handwriting. Lin Yuan, it was indeed his personal possession. Holding this jade pendant, my heart was filled with mixed emotions. This jade pendant was bestowed by the emperor himself, symbolizing Gu Linyuan's honor and status. Yet he had given such an important item to Su Wanyue, clearly showing that his feelings for her had long surpassed ordinary friendship. With this jade pendant, combined with the pearl hairpin from before and the numerous accounts of Gu Linyuan's secret meetings with Su Wanyue, the evidence in my possession was now more than sufficient. I resolved immediately to enter the palace once more and petition the emperor for permission to dissolve our marriage. After dressing and grooming, I boarded a carriage bearing the jade pendant and my prepared memorial, heading for the palace. Following the guard's announcement, His Majesty swiftly summoned me to the imperial study. Within the imperial study, the emperor remained seated at his desk reviewing memorials. Upon my entrance, he set down his vermilion brush, his tone unruffled. "Cui Shi, you have come to see me again today. Is it concerning the matter of divorce?" "Yes." I knelt and bowed, presenting the memorial and jade pendant with both hands. "Your Majesty, I have come today to present evidence proving that my marriage to Minister Gu exists in name only. The request for divorce is not an impulsive decision." His gaze fell upon the jade pendant, his eyes narrowing slightly. He picked it up, examined it closely, and furrowed his brow. "This is the dragon-patterned jade pendant I bestowed upon Gu Linyuan years ago. How did it come into your possession?" "Your Majesty," I replied, "this jade pendant was the token of affection Lord Gu gave to Su Wanyue." I spoke slowly, recounting the entire sequence of events. 3 years ago, Minister Gu privately pledged his life to Su Wanyue and presented her with this imperial jade pendant. These past years, they have secretly carried on their affair. Minister Gu has showered Su Wanyue with every conceivable care, while treating this humble maiden with icy indifference. Every word I speak is backed by evidence, not a single falsehood. I recounted the pearl hairpin affair, Gu Linyuan's nights spent away from home, and how he neglected me for Su Wanyue, each detail stated calmly, yet every word was spoken through tears. As the emperor listened, his expression darkened, the atmosphere growing increasingly heavy. Silence hung heavy in the imperial study, my voice echoing alone. "Your Majesty," I prostrated myself, my tone unwavering. "My marriage to Lord Gu has long lost its original meaning. With irrefutable evidence now presented, I humbly beseech your Majesty once more to grant me a divorce, restoring my freedom." Just then, the study door swung open. Gu Linyuan rushed in. His face drained of color the moment he saw me kneeling before the emperor and the jade pendant in His Majesty's hand. "Your Majesty!" He hurriedly bowed, his voice frantic. "There must be some misunderstanding. This jade pendant is indeed mine, but I never gave it to Su Wanyue. She must have stolen it." "Stolen it?" The emperor sneered coldly, flinging the jade pendant before him. "Gu Linyuan, do you take me for a fool? This jade pendant was bestowed by my imperial grace. You've worn it close to your body all this time, how could anyone simply steal it? Moreover, the deeds Cui Shi described align perfectly with the rumors circulating in the capital. Do you still wish to argue?" Gu Linyuan's face alternated between green and white. Staring at the jade pendant on the floor, his lips trembled, yet he couldn't utter a single word of rebuttal. The emperor regarded him with disappointment. "Gu Linyuan, I always believed you to be a loyal minister who understood right from wrong. I never imagined you could be so foolish. For the sake of one woman, you neglected your lawful wife and even casually gave away an imperial gift. Do you know the gravity of your crime?" "Your Majesty, I know my crime." Gu Linyuan's legs buckled, and he collapsed to his knees, his voice trembling. The emperor fell silent for a moment, his tone heavy. "Cui, the evidence you presented is irrefutable. I should have granted your divorce immediately. However..." He paused, turning his gaze to me. "Su Wanyue is entangled with remnants of the former dynasty. This matter is no trivial affair. I require time to investigate thoroughly, lest we alert the enemy prematurely. Grant her a few more days. Once I have uncovered the truth, I shall give you a satisfactory resolution." My heart leapt with joy. The emperor had acknowledged the validity of my evidence. The divorce was merely a matter of time. This humble subject obeys the decree and thanks your Majesty for his grace. I hastily knelt to express my gratitude. As I left the imperial study, Gu Linyuan remained kneeling on the ground, his face deathly pale, his eyes vacant. I did not look at him, walking straight out of the palace. Seated in the carriage, I gazed at the jade pendant in my hand, my heart filled with profound calm. The evidence had been presented, and His Majesty had yielded. The divorce proceedings were finally taking shape. However, the remnants of the previous dynasty behind Su Wanyue and their schemes still required the emperor's thorough investigation. These coming days would surely be turbulent. But I feared nothing now. As long as I could secure the divorce and free myself from Gu Linyuan and Su Wanyue's entanglement, whatever lay ahead, I would face it with composure. The dawn of dissolution was now within reach. On the third day after returning from the palace, a light drizzle suddenly fell over the capital. The damp, chilly air seeped through the window lattice into the clear radiance courtyard, bringing a touch of coldness to the heart. As I watched Nanny Ching arrange freshly sun-dried scrolls, a maid's frantic voice pierced the room. "Lady. It's terrible." Miss Su sent word. She fell gravely ill while praying at Jingshin Temple outside the city. "She requests your presence." A thought struck me. Su Wanyue had visited Jingshin Temple just days ago. For her to suddenly fall ill today and specifically send for me, there must be a trick involved. Nanny Ching's expression darkened. "Miss, this is likely a trap. Su Wanyue is in dire straits herself now. She might be trying to frame you." I nodded, already understanding the situation. The emperor is investigating the remnants of the previous dynasty behind her, and Gu Linyuan has grown suspicious of her too. With her back against the wall, she'll naturally turn her accusations toward me, the one standing in her way. But why choose Jingshin Temple specifically? And what of the messenger she sent? I inquired. "She's waiting outside the courtyard. She said Miss Su's condition is critical and urged you to hurry over." The maid replied. I pondered for a moment. If I didn't go, Su Wanyue would surely turn the tables and accuse me of being heartless and cruel for abandoning someone in mortal danger. If I went, it would be like walking into a trap. But at this point, I had no way out. I could only face the challenge head-on. "Prepare the carriage," I ordered in a low voice. "Auntie Ching, accompany me. Bring 2 capable servants as well, just in case." "Yes, miss." After half an hour of driving through the rain, the carriage finally reached Jingshin Temple outside the city. The temple was simple and serene, rain pattering on the green tiles. Su Wanyue's maid had been waiting at the entrance. Seeing us arrive, she hurried forward to guide us, her expression tinged with deliberate urgency. "Lady Cui, you've finally come. My mistress has lost consciousness several times already, and the abbess here is at a loss." I followed her through the quiet, winding corridors to a secluded meditation room in the rear courtyard. The room was dimly lit, the air carrying a faint medicinal scent. Su Wanyue lay on the bed, her face pale and eyes tightly shut. She certainly looked gravely ill. "Sister, you've finally come." Hearing footsteps, she slowly opened her eyes. Her voice was faint, tinged with a barely perceptible note of satisfaction. "I'm afraid I can't hold on much longer." I stood by the bedside, coldly observing her without a word. This feigned frailty, she'd been performing it for 3 years. I'd long grown weary of it. Just then, the meditation room door burst open. Gu Linyuan stormed in with a group of servants, his face ashen, eyes blazing with fury. Behind him followed several prominent ladies of the capital, clearly summoned to bear witness. "Cui Qingshuang, what are you doing?" Gu Linyuan's voice was thick with gritted teeth fury, his gaze fixed intently behind me. My heart lurched. I whirled around to find a stranger standing behind the screen in the corner of the meditation room. He wore a blue-green robe, his features handsome, yet his expression was frantic, as if he'd been terribly frightened. What is going on? I instinctively took a step back, already understanding this was Su Wanyue's poisonous scheme. "What's going on?" Su Wanyue suddenly burst into tears, struggling to sit up before weakly collapsing back onto the bed. "Sister, I kindly invited you to see me. How could you? How could you bring a man here for a secret rendezvous? If word gets out, it won't just ruin your reputation, it'll drag down the Gu and Cui families too." The stranger knelt with a thud, banging his head repeatedly against the floor before Gu Linyuan. "Lord Gu, spare my life. It was Lady Cui. Lady Cui invited me here. I was momentarily blinded and committed this grave error." "You're lying." Shocked and furious, I pointed at the man. "I don't even know you. You colluded with Su Wanyue to frame me." "Sister, how could you say that?" Su Wanyue wept even harder. "This gentleman is a friend of my distant cousin. He happened to come to the temple to burn incense today. How could I collude with him?" "It's clearly you, sister." You harbor resentment over the divorce settlement, so you stooped to this disgraceful act. The ladies present began whispering among themselves, their gazes toward me brimming with contempt and scrutiny. Gu Linyuan's expression darkened by the second, his fists clenched so tightly they cracked. His eyes held nothing but disappointment and rage. Cui Qingshuang, I truly misjudged you. I thought you were merely fiery-tempered, but never imagined you'd be so utterly shameless. Gu Linyuan, snap out of it. I stared at him, my heart turning to ice. This was clearly a trap set by Su Wanyue. How could you possibly believe her? A trap? Gu Linyuan sneered coldly. Witnesses and evidence are both present. Do you still intend to argue? Had I not arrived in time, what even more disgraceful acts would you have committed? He stepped forward, seizing my wrist with a grip so tight it nearly crushed my bones. Come back with me. If this becomes public, it won't just be your disgrace, it will be a stain on both the Gu and Chui families. I struggled fiercely but couldn't break free. Gu Linyuan, let go of me. I never did such a thing. Su Wanyue framed me. But he wouldn't listen to my explanations, dragging me out. Su Wanyue lay on the bed, watching our retreating figures. A barely perceptible cold smile curled her lips, her eyes brimming with triumph. Despair flooded my heart. Su Wanyue's scheme was utterly vicious. Adultery with a man outside the family was a capital offense punishable by death. She intended to use this to destroy me and prevent my divorce from Gu Linyuan. Rain pelted my face, cold and stinging. Gu Linyuan dragged me out of Jingxin Temple and shoved me into a carriage. The interior was dim. He sat across from me, his face dark enough to drip water, his eyes filled with disgust and rage. Cui Qingshuang, his voice low and icy, tell me why you did this? Even if you wanted a divorce, you couldn't commit such a disgraceful act. Where does that leave General Cui's reputation? Where does it leave mine? I didn't. My eyes burned red, my voice trembling, not from fear, but from rage and humiliation. Gu Linyuan, we've been husband and wife for 3 years. How can you distrust me so? Would you rather believe a stranger than me? He faltered, his gaze flickering with a flicker of hesitation. But swiftly, his expression turned icy once more. With both witnesses and evidence against you, how can I possibly believe you? I stared at him, the last shred of hope in my heart shattering. So, in his heart, I was never as good as Su Wanyue. The carriage rolled back to the Gu residence. The moment we entered the gate, I saw father and my elder brother waiting there, their faces ashen. Evidently, Su Wanyue had already sent word to the Chui family, intent on destroying my reputation. You ungrateful daughter! Father trembled with rage at the sight of me, raising his hand to strike. My elder brother rushed to restrain him. Father, the truth hasn't been uncovered yet. Don't act rashly. Uncovered? Father roared angrily. We have witnesses and evidence. What more needs investigating? The Chui family has been honorable for generations. How could it produce such a shameless creature as you? I saw the disappointment in my father's eyes, the worry on my brother's face, the icy demeanor of Gu Linyuan, and the contemptuous glances from the servants around us. A chill ran straight from my feet to the top of my head. Su Wanyue's poisonous scheme was indeed ruthless. She not only sought to thwart my divorce but also aimed to destroy my reputation, leaving me no foothold in the capital. I drew a deep breath, forcing myself to steady my nerves. Now was not the time for tears or excuses. The more I panicked, the more I fell into Su Wanyue's trap. Father, brother, I lifted my head to meet their gazes, my voice firm. This was not my doing. Su Wanyue framed me. I will find proof to clear my name. Gu Linyuan snorted coldly. Proof? The witnesses have already confessed. What evidence do you expect to find now? Cui Qingshuang, even at this point, you still refuse to repent. I ignored him, fixing my gaze on father and brother. I know you may not believe me now. But I, Cui Qingshuang, have always conducted myself with integrity. I would never do anything to dishonor our family. Please give me time. I will uncover the truth. Father softened slightly at my resolute gaze, sighing heavily. Very well. I'll trust you one last time. If you fail to find proof of your innocence within 3 days, don't blame me for being unforgiving. I nodded, inwardly relieved. Father still believed in me after all. Back at Qinghui Courtyard, Nanny Qing gazed at my swollen wrists with heartache. Miss, you've suffered so much. That Su Wanyue is utterly vicious, to scheme such a trap against you. It matters not. I massaged my wrist, my gaze sharpening. The more ruthless she is, the more it proves her guilt. These 3 days, we must uncover the evidence and expose her conspiracy. I knew this was a life-or-death struggle. Without proof, I wouldn't just lose my chance at divorce, I'd be ruined, my reputation destroyed, and my life might even be forfeit. But I would never sit idly by. Su Wanyue, since you dared set this trap, don't blame me for making you pay a bitter price. I would prove my innocence, leaving you and those behind you nowhere to hide. 2 days of the 3-day deadline have already slipped away. I sent Nanny Qing to investigate the background of that strange man and had others watch Su Wanyue's movements, yet we found nothing. That man seemed to appear out of thin air and vanished without a trace after the incident. He must have been hidden away by Su Wanyue. Father sent messengers daily to inquire about progress, his tone growing heavier with each visit. Gu Linyuan, meanwhile, shut himself away entirely, clearly convinced of my guilt. Outside Qinghui Courtyard, the rumors grew increasingly vile. Even the most loyal maidservants in the household now carried a hint of wavering in their eyes. Seated by the window, I watched the steady drizzle fall outside. Yet my heart held not a trace of panic. The more desperate the situation, the more one must keep their composure. I knew that if Su Wanyue dared to set this trap, she must have made thorough preparations. But anything done by a human being is bound to leave a flaw. Miss. Nanny Qing hurried in, her expression tinged with urgency. This old servant has found it. The outsider is named Li Si, a gambler who owes a huge gambling debt. A few days ago, someone paid him a sum of silver to carry out Su Wanyue's orders. Upon completion, he'd receive more money to flee far away. Have you traced the source of the silver? I asked. Nanny Qing shook her head. The person acted with extreme secrecy. The silver was transferred through a gambling den owner, so the exact source is untraceable. However, this old servant heard that Li Si's mother still lives in a dilapidated temple on the outskirts of the capital. Perhaps we can start with her. My eyes lit up. Excellent. Let's go now. Braving the drizzle, I hurried to the ruined temple on the city's outskirts with Nanny Qing and 2 servants. The temple was dilapidated and drafty. Li Si's mother lay sick in bed, her appearance gaunt and emaciated. Seeing us arrive, her eyes filled with weariness. Madam, we've come to help you. I stepped forward, my tone gentle. Your son Li Si made a mistake, but he was also being used. If you tell us who made him frame me, I can help you pay off your gambling debts and bring the best doctors to treat you. Li's mother stared at me, her eyes darting nervously. After a long struggle, she finally sighed. It was Miss Su from Wanyue Pavilion. She had someone find Li Si and promised him 100 taels of silver if he did as she said. She also promised to send him away to live a good life. My son was momentarily blinded by greed and agreed to her scheme. Did Miss Su explain why she framed me? I pressed. Mrs. Li shook her head. She didn't give specifics, only that you stood in her way. Oh, right. She seemed to recall something, reaching under her pillow to pull out a satch. This fell out when that person delivered silver to Li Si. He told me to keep it safe, saying it might come in handy someday. I took the satch and opened it. Inside, no perfume, only a small note with an address scrawled on it, abandoned granary, west of the city. Miss, this address. Nanny Qing murmured doubtfully. My heart skipped a beat. Jinhan, the man behind Su Wanyue, was a remnant of the previous dynasty. They must have a secret hideout. This abandoned granary in the west of the city could very well be their lair. We're heading to the granary now. I decided without hesitation. By the time we reached the abandoned granary in the western part of the city, night had fallen. Neglected for years, the granary was overgrown with weeds, radiating an eerie, foreboding atmosphere. We crept inside cautiously. Just as we reached the depths of the granary, voices echoed from within. The plan failed. Cui Qingshuang hasn't been convicted yet. It was Su Wanyue's voice, tinged with impatience. What's the rush? A deep male voice answered. It was Shen Jinghan. Gu Linyuan already trusts her completely, and the Cui family is wavering. Just add one more spark, and she's as good as dead. Once she's gone, you can marry Gu Linyuan legitimately. Then, using his position, we can seize the military token, overthrow the current emperor, and restore the former dynasty's glory. My heart skipped a beat. So their goal was the military insignia, they planned treason. But the emperor is already investigating us. What if he traces it back here? Su Wanyue's voice trembled with fear. Rest assured. The granary is hidden. No one will find it here. Shen Jinghan reassured her. Besides, Gu Linyuan remains unaware. He'll protect you. Just then, footsteps echoed outside the granary, accompanied by Gu Linyuan's voice. Su Wanyue, Shen Jinghan, so you are here. I turned to see Gu Linyuan leading a group of soldiers charging inside. His gaze upon me held complexity, yet he remained silent. Su Wanyue and Shen Jingnan's faces paled. Shen Jinghan drew the sword at his waist and stepped in front of Su Wanyue. Gu Linyuan, how did you find us? How did I find you? Gu Linyuan sneered coldly. If not for Cui Qingshuang sending word that you've colluded with remnants of the former dynasty to plot rebellion, I'd still be kept in the dark. It turned out that while I was searching for Mother Li, Nanny Qing had already sent word of the discovered clues to Gu Linyuan. Though Gu Linyuan harbored misunderstandings toward me, he remained clear-headed when national duty was at stake. He immediately led his troops here. Su Wanyue's face drained of color. Staring at Gu Linyuan, she sobbed, Brother Linyuan, please listen to my explanation. It's not like that, Cui Qingshuang framed me. Framed you? Gu Linyuan pointed at her, his voice icy. I heard every word of your conversation just now. Not only did you frame Qingshuang, you colluded with remnants of the former dynasty to plot rebellion. How can I ever trust you again? Shen Jinghan, realizing the game was up, tried to flee but was swiftly surrounded and subdued by the officers. Su Wanyue collapsed to the ground, her eyes vacant, stripped of her former fragility and smugness. Searching the granary, the officers discovered numerous letters exchanged with remnants of the former dynasty, along with a detailed plan for rebellion, irrefutable evidence. Gu Linyuan approached me, his gaze filled with remorse. Qingshuang, I'm sorry. I trusted her wrongly. You've suffered for my mistake. I looked at him, my heart utterly still. At that moment, all grievances and fury vanished like smoke upon the revelation of truth. Minister Gu, no need for apologies. My tone was flat. Between us, there is nothing left to say. With Su Wanyue and Shen Jinghan in custody, along with the seized evidence, we returned to the capital. Upon learning of this, His Majesty flew into a rage. He immediately decreed that Su Wanyue and Shen Jinghan be imprisoned in the imperial dungeons and ordered a thorough investigation into all remnants of the previous dynasty involved. When Father and my elder brother learned the truth, they were overcome with remorse. Father took my hand and sighed, Frost, I wronged you. Father, it's all right now. I smiled, my heart finally at peace. All conspiracies had been exposed, all misunderstandings cleared. Su Wanyue and her hidden forces finally received their just punishment. Standing in the courtyard, I gazed at the sky after the rain. Sunlight filtered through the clouds, warm and bright. From the brink of despair, truth emerged. This storm had revealed the true nature of people and strengthened my resolve. Now, the final obstacle blocking my divorce had been cleared. All that remained was to await the emperor's decree, to finally escape this ill-fated marriage. I knew my new life was just around the corner. News of Su Wanyue and Shen Jingnan's treasonous plot swiftly spread throughout the capital. Enraged, His Majesty decreed their execution by slow slicing. All remnants of the previous dynasty implicated were arrested, purging the court and restoring order. Gu Linyuan, nearly implicated for his poor judgment, was punished with a year's salary reduction and demotion by 3 ranks. Though his life was spared, his reputation was utterly ruined. 3 days later, the emperor summoned me to the palace once more. In the imperial study, the emperor looked at me, his tone noticeably gentler. Cui Shi, Su Wanyu's conspiracy has been exposed, and the treason case has been thoroughly investigated. I have witnessed every injustice you have endured. The matter of your divorce from Gu Linyuan, I grant it today." Saying this, he picked up the divorce decree already prepared on the desk, affixed the imperial seal, and handed it to me. "From this day forward, you and Gu Linyuan are no longer husband and wife. You are restored to your freedom. The Cui family has served the nation. You are a fiercely independent woman. I will not let you suffer the slightest injustice." I accepted the papers with both hands. The paper felt slightly cool, yet weighed as heavily as 1,000 pounds. Every character etched upon it shone like a ray of light, illuminating the 3 years of my life shrouded in darkness. "This humble maiden thanks His Majesty for his grace." I knelt, my voice carrying a barely perceptible tremor. 3 years of torment, countless struggles, all finally drew to a perfect close in this moment. As I left the imperial study, Gu Linyuan waited outside the palace gates. Dressed in plain official robes, he looked haggard, his eyes bloodshot, the vibrant spirit of old long gone. Noticing the divorce papers in my hand, he stepped forward, his voice hoarse. "Qing, truly can you not give me one more chance? I know I was wrong. I will." "Minister Gu," I interrupted, my tone calm and unruffled, "it is unnecessary. Our bond ended the moment you gave that pearl hairpin to Su Wanyue." I paused, observing his disoriented state, and added, "As former spouses, I wish you a bright future ahead. May you open your eyes and no longer be blinded by appearances." With that, I turned away without another glance and stepped into the Cui family carriage. The curtain fell, shutting out his lonely figure and sealing away that painful chapter of my past. Upon returning to the Cui residence, father and my elder brother were already waiting at the gate. Seeing the divorce papers in my hand, father's face lit up with a relieved smile. "Good, good. Schwanger, you're finally free." My brother stepped forward and patted my shoulder. "Sister, with the Cui family behind you now, no one will dare to bully you again. Whatever you wish to do, I will support you." The warmth of my family's concerned gazes filled my heart. These past 3 years, no matter what decisions I made, the Cui family remained my strongest support. The following days were spent in peaceful recuperation at the Cui residence. I chatted with mother daily and practiced archery and horsemanship with father, living a tranquil and contented life. The whispers about me in the capital gradually subsided, replaced by condemnation of Su Wanyue and sympathy and admiration for me. Some praised my courage and wisdom in breaking free from an unhappy marriage, others attributed my fortune to having the Cui family as my backing. But only I knew the truth, every bit of this had been earned through sheer determination. One afternoon, as I practiced calligraphy in the courtyard, my elder brother approached and handed me a scroll. "Sister, father asked me to give this to you. The Cui family owns several properties in Jiangnan that have long been neglected. Father wishes for you to gain experience there and take charge of these holdings." I opened the scroll, which detailed the Jiangnan properties, a silk shop, a grain store, and a secluded estate. The water towns of Jiangnan, with their picturesque scenery and distance from the capital's turmoil, were precisely the place I longed to be. "I am willing to go." I looked up at my brother, my eyes sparkling with anticipation. Father's voice came from behind me. "Schwanger, though Jiangnan is lovely, the journey is long. As a woman traveling alone, you must be ever vigilant. Father has already assigned reliable men to accompany you. Should anything arise, send word back immediately." "Thank you, father." I curtsied, my heart brimming with gratitude. 3 days later, my belongings packed, I set out for Jiangnan with Nanny Qing and several servants. The moment the carriage left the capital, I lifted the curtain and glanced back at the bustling city. Here lay my pain, my struggles, and also my growth and transformation. But I knew my future did not lie here. As we journeyed south, the scenery gradually grew more picturesque. Emerald mountains and clear waters, birdsong and floral fragrance, far from the court's deceit and intrigue, far from the complex calculations of human hearts, my spirit grew increasingly serene. We arrived in Jiangnan at the tail end of spring. A light drizzle fell, willows swayed gently, and the cobblestone paths were washed clean by the rain. The air carried the fresh scent of grass and earth. Taking over the estate went smoothly. With the help of the old steward my father sent, I quickly became familiar with all the affairs. I abolished unreasonable rules and promoted several capable servants. Within just a few months, the Jiangnan estate flourished, doubling its profits from previous years. In my leisure time, I would take Nanny Ching to cruise the lakes and stroll through the markets, immersing myself in the local customs and culture of Jiangnan. Occasionally, I would pick up my brush to paint, capturing the beauty of Jiangnan on rice paper. News from the capital occasionally reached me. I heard that Gu Linyuan had been gloomy and withdrawn since his demotion, rarely leaving his quarters, that the Empress Dowager was in good health and often spoke of me, that the Cui family was well, with father and my elder brother both missing me dearly. I merely smiled faintly, tucking these tidings away in my heart. What was past was past. I held no lingering attachment, nor any lingering resentment. That day, standing on the terrace of the detached courtyard, I gazed at the distant lake and mountains. The setting sun bathed me in its warmth, bringing a deep sense of contentment. Aunt Ching brought a cup of clear tea, smiling as she said, "Miss, your life now is truly like that of a celestial being." I took the teacup, sipped lightly, and felt a deep peace within. Yes, freed from the prison of marriage, liberated from others' constraints, I could finally live for myself. I could do what I wished, go where I pleased, no longer needing to read anyone's expressions or endure any injustices. The path to divorce, though strewn with thorns, had allowed me to rise like a phoenix from the ashes. I knew the road ahead lay clear and bright. For the rest of my life, I would cherish myself, live fully, and carve out a brilliant existence worthy of Cui Qingshuang. The end.